Boxing is called the sweet science. Timing, distance, precision. But for every clean combination and perfect defensive move, there's another side to this sport. A side that doesn't get replayed in highlight packages. A side that lives in consequences, in hospital rooms, in silence. Because boxing is not just about winning and losing. Sometimes, it's about what's left after the fight is over. These are the nights that changed boxing forever. And to understand how deep that goes, you have to start with a fight that forced the entire sport to confront itself. The night Duk Koo fought Ray Mancini, November 13th, 1982, Caesars Palace, Las Vegas. Ray Mancini entered the ring as more than a champion. He was a story, the son of Lenny Mancini, a fighter whose own career was interrupted by World War II. Ray carried that unfinished dream with him. Every fight wasn't just about his record, it was about legacy, about fulfilling something his father never got to complete. Duk Koo came from a completely different world. Raised in poverty in South Korea, he didn't have the same spotlight. No major promotion, no built-in audience. What he had was hunger, discipline, and a mindset shaped by survival. Reports say that before the fight, he wrote on a lamp in his hotel room, "Live or die." That wasn't marketing. That was the reality he brought into the ring. From the opening bell, the tone was set. There was no slow build-up, no tactical chess match. They met in the center and exchanged immediately. Mancini's pressure was constant. Forward movement, combinations, body shots. Kim responded with toughness, refusing to back up, firing back whenever he could. The early rounds were competitive. Kim showed resilience, taking shots and continuing forward. But as the rounds piled up, the difference began to show. Not in heart, but in wear. This was a 15-round fight. That matters. Because the damage wasn't just physical, it was cumulative. Every round added something. Every exchange took something away. By round 8, both fighters were visibly exhausted. Sweat pouring, faces swelling. Mancini's pressure didn't stop, but even he was feeling it. Kim's responses became slightly slower. His guard dropped just a fraction longer after exchanges. By round 11 and 12, the fight had crossed into something else entirely. It wasn't about tactics anymore. It was about endurance, about who could keep going. Kim was still standing, still fighting, but the sharpness was gone. His punches didn't snap the same way. His reactions were delayed just enough to matter. Mancini began landing cleaner. Round 14. This is where everything changed. Mancini landed a series of hard, clean punches. The kind that land not just on the body, but through it. Kim went down. He got back up, but something was clearly wrong. His balance, his eyes, his awareness. The referee stepped in. Fight over. But the damage had already been done. Back in the corner, Kim collapsed. What had been a fight turned into an emergency. He was rushed to the hospital, where doctors discovered severe brain trauma. He fell into a coma. 4 days later, he passed away. The reaction was immediate. Not just from fans, but from the entire boxing world. Ray Mancini later spoke about the emotional toll. He had done what he was trained to do, what he was expected to do, but the outcome stayed with him for the rest of his life. And the sport changed. 15-round fights began to disappear. Championship bouts were reduced to 12 rounds. Medical protocols became stricter. Ringside doctors were given more authority. But even with those changes, boxing didn't eliminate the risk. Because more than a decade later, another fight would show that danger doesn't always come from one moment. Sometimes, it builds slowly. 1995, London. Gerald McClellan versus Nigel Benn. Gerald McClellan was one of the most feared punchers in boxing. His power wasn't just about knockouts, it was about the way he delivered them. Sudden, violent, final. Fighters didn't just lose to him, they were broken by him. Nigel Benn was the kind of fighter who didn't avoid danger. He ran toward it. Aggressive, emotional, willing to trade. From the opening bell, the fight was intense. Round 1 changed everything. McClellan landed a massive right hand that sent Benn through the ropes and out of the ring. Not a knockdown, a complete ejection. The crowd was stunned. That moment alone could have ended the fight under different circumstances. But Benn got back in, and the fight continued. McClellan dominated the early rounds. His jab was sharp. His right hand was landing. Benn looked shaken. But then the signs started appearing. McClellan began blinking excessively. At first, it looked like irritation, maybe swelling. But then it continued. More blinking. More discomfort. He took a knee in the middle rounds. Not from a clean punch. Not from visible fatigue. Just a knee. Back in the corner, he told his team he couldn't see. That's not normal. But the fight continued. Benn, showing incredible resilience, began to fight back. He pushed forward, throwing combinations, forcing exchanges. The fight turned into a war. No defense, just offense, just survival. McClellan took another knee later in the fight. Again, not clearly from a punch. By round 10, the referee stopped it after another knockdown. Nigel Benn wins. But what followed overshadowed everything. McClellan collapsed in his corner. He was rushed to the hospital. Doctors discovered severe brain swelling. Emergency surgery saved his life, but the damage was irreversible. He lost his vision. His hearing was severely impaired. His speech was affected. He would require lifelong care. Nigel Benn later admitted that the fight haunted him. Because during the fight, he felt something was wrong. But in that moment, fighters don't stop. That's not how they're built. And that's what makes boxing so complicated. Because the same mentality that creates greatness can also lead to tragedy. Years later, the sport would face that reality again. But this time, in the modern era. 2019. Maxim Dadashev versus Subriel Matias. Dadashev was a disciplined, technically sound fighter. Undefeated. Focused. A product of structured training and high-level fundamentals. Matias was the opposite stylistically. Relentless pressure, volume, constant forward movement. From the early rounds, Matias applied pressure. He didn't allow Dadashev to settle. Every round, he forced exchanges, body shots, head shots, no breaks. Dadashev had moments. He landed clean counters, showed skill, but the pace never slowed. By rounds 6 and 7, the accumulation was visible. His face showed swelling. His reactions slowed. His footwork became heavier. In the corner, his trainer, Buddy McGirt, saw everything. Between rounds, he spoke directly. "Max, I'm gonna stop it." Dadashev responded like fighters do. No, he wanted to continue. McGirt asked again, and again. Because trainers are caught in a difficult position, they trust their fighters, but they also have to protect them. By the later rounds, Dadashev was taking sustained punishment. Not one punch, but many. Repeated, consistent. Finally, McGirt made the decision. He stopped the fight. It was the right call, but it came too late. Dadashev collapsed after leaving the ring. He was taken to the hospital, diagnosed with severe brain injuries. Emergency surgery followed. Days later, he passed away. The boxing world reacted immediately. This wasn't about old-school brutality. This was modern boxing, with medical checks, with experienced trainers, with awareness. And still, it happened. That same year, another tragedy would follow. Patrick Day versus Charles Conwell. Patrick Day was respected not just as a fighter, but as a person. Intelligent, kind. The kind of athlete people supported beyond the sport. The fight began competitively, but as the rounds progressed, Conwell's power began to show. Day was knocked down multiple times. Each time he got up, showing heart, showing determination. But the damage was building. Round by round, his ability to absorb shots decreased. His movements slowed. His reactions faded. Then came the final moment. A clean right hand from Conwell. Day fell hard. His head struck the canvas. The arena went silent. He tried to rise. He couldn't. He was stretchered out, rushed into surgery. Days later, he passed away. Charles Conwell's response was immediate and emotional. He wrote a letter apologizing, expressing regret, promising to honor Day. Because in boxing, even when it's not intentional, the weight is shared. And then there's one of the most controversial cases. Pritchard Colon versus Terrell Williams. Colon was undefeated, a rising prospect, talented and disciplined. During the fight, multiple punches landed to the back of his head. Illegal shots. Dangerous shots. Colon complained to the referee. More than once. Warnings were issued. But the fight continued. The damage accumulated. Between rounds, confusion in the corner led to a glove issue. His gloves were removed improperly. This caused a delay. Ultimately, he was disqualified. But the result didn't matter. After the fight, Colon became unresponsive. Diagnosed with brain bleeding. Emergency surgery followed. He survived, but with severe permanent damage. This case raised questions about officiating, about responsibility, about how many warnings should be enough. Because the danger wasn't hidden. It was visible. And still, it wasn't stopped in time. When you look at all these stories together, one thing becomes clear. It's not just the damage that defines these nights. It's the moments before it, the hesitation, the judgment calls, the seconds where a fight could be stopped or allowed to continue. Boxing has evolved, shorter fights, better medical oversight, more awareness. But the core hasn't changed. Fighters still push beyond limits. Trainers still trust their fighters. Referees still make split-second decisions. And sometimes, those decisions carry consequences that last a lifetime. These stories aren't told for shock, they're told for understanding. Because every early stoppage, every thrown towel, every cautious referee exists because boxing has already seen what happens when it waits too long. There is no rewind in this sport. Some nights don't end at the final bell, and some consequences never fade. This is the reality of boxing, and it's one that should never be forgotten.